Wild start to the weekend. And at one time, we are kind of pointing and laughing at the Jags. Should we be? In more ways than once. Go inside the locker room.
Yeah.
We'll do
It's
it
the locker
live.
room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle.
It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. We're getting started late because of that unbelievable Georgia Tech game. I thought we timed that out pretty well. Pushed it back 15 minutes and then a few more overtimes. It is the holiday as well, so I'm sure you got a lot of people around you enjoying that madness that was the Georgia Tech Georgia game. Still not a big fan of this finish with 2-point conversions and whatnot, but whatever. It was entertaining. I enjoyed it. I'm sure there's a lot of people on both sides when it comes to the Bet US and the wagering, which we'll get to in a sec. I'll just jump right into it with the Texans. I'm going props this week for the Texans. I'm going Trevor Lawrence over 1.5 touchdowns, Jags over 19.5 points, and then Dalton Schultz and Tank Dell over receiving yards. That's $25 to win $270. So I think it's a good parlay. Trevor Lawrence over on the passing touchdowns, Jags over on the points, and then Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz over on the yards. Schultz still less than 30. I think Tank Dell is, last I checked, and what I got it at was about 54 and a half. So that's the parlay that I'm going with. The betting line in this game is actually pretty wild because the last I checked, and let's just pull this up. I'll pull up the screen right now. The betting line on the Bet US. Let's peep this. Not a good day betting for your boy, by the way. But the betting line with the Texans, let's check this out. Let's go to Prop Builder. Okay, let's pick Texans. And you can get 150% bonus. Use YouTube 150 if you want to get in. So 20, it'll get you $45 to mess around with. We got Texans Jags here. The line's at 3.5. The Texans are just a 3.5 point favorite in this game. Y'all watch this game as close as anyone. How confident are you in betting on the Texans to win a game by 3.5? I'll tell you how I'm not. And I'm actually going to double up on this parlay because, as I said it to y'all, it sounded good. So we're going to go Jags over 19.5 points. Doesn't necessarily mean they win, but Jags over 19.5. We're going to go passing touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence, for some reason, is plus 171. I know he's played bad, but 2 passing touchdowns, you get close. The safety situation. So that puts the parlay already up to plus 237. Then we go to the receiving yards here. I like Brian Thomas, the 60.5. Not going to do that. Schultz, 26.5. God, it's so low. And then Tank Dell over 51.5. That gets you to 11-1. Just that on this parlay. I mean, does that seem too crazy for 11-1 odds? Trevor Lawrence over 1.5. Jags over 19.5 points. Dalton Schultz, 27 receiving yards, and then Tank Dell 51.5. Let's put another hundo on it. I talked myself into it. 100 to win $1,225. Let's say that you put $20 in and then you get 150% bonus back, and you just want to put 20. 20 wins you $250. So go to Bet US, promo code YouTube 150. Hell, if you want to go all in with the $20 and you get your 150% bonus with the promo code YouTube 150, that's $562. If y'all want to try to get this. So you're not betting against the Texans. You're just betting that the Jags score 20 points and Trevor Lawrence those 2 touchdowns, and then that. So there we go. $100 to win $1,250. This could end up being a very, very nice week after not the best day. So Bet US, promo code YouTube 150 if you want to get down with that. Mike says, don't gamble, save your money, use your money on somewhere better. That's good advice. That makes perfect sense. That's probably wise advice by you, for sure. Let's talk about this Texans Jags situation, because there was a time not too long ago where the Texans were kind of pointing at the Jags and laughing. And I wonder, and obviously there's a lot of differences. And I think if you asked anyone in Jacksonville, hey, would you trade your roster for the Texans? Would you trade your situation for the Texans? Would you trade your coach with the Texans, your quarterback with the Texans, your cap situation with the Texans? I think they would say yes. I think we can all agree to that. But if you look at what has happened with the Texans right now, and there's hints at it, but in year one of D'Amico Ryans, you had the Texans win the division and they won a playoff game. And then they were outmanned by a team that was better than them. That was the same thing that happened with Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson, same exact thing in year one. Now, granted, Trevor Lawrence wasn't a rookie. He had just been through the Urban Meyer situation, and it wasn't an ideal thing for him. But that's what he did in year one. They won the AFC South. They lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. Fast forward to last year, the Jags in year two with Doug Peterson and the quarterback that they were excited about. They end up melting down at the end of the season. They lose a handful of games after being in firm control of the division, where they were 90% favorites. So it's kind of wild, because even if the Texans, let's say they do melt down the division again, you feel like your situation's better. But if you lose this game to the Jags, who had that happen to them last year, there's at least going to be a week of panic with the bye week, to where there's concern about the Texans. There's concern about the Texans doing what the Jags did, and it wouldn't be much different than Doug Peterson in his first 2 years if that did happen. I don't know whether that's going to happen or not, but I don't know that the Texans are that much further along. And the other thing is, as good as you feel about the future of this squad, there is reason to wonder, like, how are they going to get out of this situation? Because the Jags didn't do a good job. It actually got even worse for the Jags. The Jags came into this season with hopes, and it got even worse. So how do the Texans handle it? I think it all starts Sunday, and you avoid even this dialogue and even this disaster. Just something to think about. Just something to think about. Weren't they 8-3 at one point? Yes, they were. Yes, they were. They were, and they melted down. They melted down big time, for sure. And that's something to really keep an eye on when it comes to the Texans Jags. I don't know that you can point and laugh at them at this point, because right now the season is shaping up to where there's some similarities. Now, will there be a team like the Texans last year with CJ Stroud and everyone, where you're able to have a team that's able to overcome the obstacle or whatever and get it done? Because the Texans had to handle their business too against the Jags. I think that's something to keep an eye on, but I just don't necessarily think that's where it is. Brandon says you can always point and laugh at the Jags. You can, but are you doing the Spider-Man point if you're the Texans at this point? Are you doing the Spider-Man? Yeah, I hear you, but our defense will give us a puncher's chance this year, in my opinion. Yeah, they have a puncher's chance in any game. You have an elite defense. You have an elite duo on the edge. So I don't think it's a complete meltdown. I think you always have a chance to get the job done. But yeah, who knows? Darren says if they lose to the Jags on Sunday, there will need to be a very uncomfortable conversation had. Yeah, and I actually think it makes the bye week uncomfortable too. Bye week, they need this. They've been on this. They've been on this thing for a long time. They've been trying to figure stuff out for a while. They've needed this bye week, and now if you go into the bye week and you lose to the Jags and you've lost all these ball games, then how do you even enjoy the bye week at that point? what does the front office do? Nick Caserio is going to speak on Tuesday. It'll be interesting to hear what he has to say. Sometimes he says a lot, but doesn't say much. But what is he going to say about the offensive line that he put together? What does he think about it? We'll see. Maybe we'll get a candid version of Nick Caserio. Maybe. Maybe not. Mike says, are the Texans going to fire any of these offensive coaches? I mean, Cal and Hannah are going to want someone's job over these offensive players. I don't know if Cal and Hannah are really going to meddle in this thing. I think they'll let Caserio and D'Amico figure it out. I think it's D'Amico's ship right now. I look forward to seeing D'Amico grow and handle this adversity, but I don't have a lot of confidence that D'Amico is going to get the job done here. Not overly confident in it. But who knows? There's a lot of offseason talk in the chat. They need this, they need that. That's an offseason thing. The offense is probably going to be a big area of focus in the offseason. But in the meantime, they need to figure out how to overcome the weaknesses they're stuck with for the remainder of the season. They need to figure out how the hell to get in the end zone in the second half of a football game. And then from there, your guess is as good as mine as to what they're going to do. But right now, they're looking exactly like what the Jags, what it looked like. Before this year, the last game the Jags won was the game in Houston against the Texans. That's how long they went without winning a game. Texans got the Dolphins without cold weather. They got the Chiefs, who they have a deal with the devil or something like that. I don't know how they got away with what they got away with today. I mean, I know it was a blunder by the Raiders, but they're calling false start, blowing the whistle. The refs, and then Kansas City, and the kicker missed 3 field goals too. So there's that. And then you got Baltimore, who you've never beaten with D'Amico Ryans. They're probably going to be playing for something, maybe a division. Then you got the Titans, who just physically dominated you up front. So you got to win this game. This is a must win. I know it's not literally a must win, and some people get a little bit weird when you talk about must wins, when you don't actually have to win it to avoid worst case scenario or the end of a season. This is a must win game. Don't let anyone tell you different. Jose says, I hope they put in work during the bye week, 2 weeks to get things right after playing the Jags. I hope they put in work on Sunday. I mean, did you see what that line's doing? That line's at 3.5. Like, most of the smart money is on the Jags. I mean, this team is not like you've got to take care of business here. They're not good enough to overlook the Jags and start looking at the bye. I think the if is if they beat Jacksonville. I mean, we thought, and I was talking about, the AFC South being on lock. We thought that the division was just a given. Now it's win the division, beat the Jags. I don't think there's any they got to get to the bye week after playing the Jags. They got to show up. Jags are rested. The Jags have done what a lot of people are calling for right now, which is make changes. They've made changes. The Jags have. Texans got some work cut out for them. They got a lot of work cut out for them. They got to handle their business. And there's reasonable doubt as to whether or not they can do that. I mean, just to put it in perspective, and I'm hammering this because I don't think it's something that you just browse over. But this 6-week stretch where you have 1 touchdown in the second half in 6 weeks, I've thrown out every stat possible. Like, my whole Twitter account is just stats with that. But the only team this week so far, between Thanksgiving games and Black Friday games, the only team this week to not score a touchdown in the second half of the game was the Kansas City Chiefs. 7 out of the 8 teams who've played the last 2 days have as many or more touchdowns in the second half than the Texans do in the last 6 weeks, and they did it in a game. I think it was 3 or 4 of them actually had multiple touchdowns. These aren't all good teams either. There's going to be times where I overreact. There's going to be times where you overreact, but that's not something to just glaze over. Oh, well, they didn't have Nico Collins. Okay. The Raiders have their backup quarterback in, and their starters suck to begin with. Cowboys have their backup quarterback. Giants have their third string quarterback. So that's not an excuse either. And I don't know how you just look at that and ignore it. I mean, just think about that. In the last 6 weeks, and it's getting old to me too. But I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat what's going on. It might be their job to sugarcoat what's going on. I'm not going to sugarcoat what's going on with this. This needs to be hammered home because it's a big ass deal. And quite frankly, it doesn't get solved because you go out there and win against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You need to look really, really long and hard at what's going on with this offense. Because there's a lot of excuses. Oh, we didn't have Nico Collins. Okay, the Bears suck. They scored 3 second-half touchdowns. That's 2 more than you have in the last 6 weeks. They did against the Lions, who you couldn't score a second-half touchdown against. We know the Lions are the Lions. They scored a second-half touchdown. Giants have Drew Lock. They scored a second-half touchdown. He's third string. Probably should have been second. He's third string. Cowboys have Cooper Rush. They scored 2 second-half touchdowns. Two. Two in the third quarter. The Dolphins, they're freezing their asses off. Couple touchdowns, second half. Green Bay, we know what Green Bay does. Raiders scored 2 second-half touchdowns against Chiefs defense, by the way. Really good defense. They're starting Aiden O'Connell. The Chiefs are the only team who didn't score a second-half touchdown. It's terrible. It's terrible. So is this a lose-lose game? Like if we lose, we look bad, but if we beat the Jags by less than 7, it's a disappointment, so it sucks. No. They just got to win. Just get the hell out of Jacksonville with a win. Lower the magic number in the division to 2. There ain't no style points. There ain't no lose-lose. Win the game. Now, with that said, like all is right if they score a couple touchdowns. No, I mean, I guess that's better than what you've been doing. But no, there's no, oh, they only won by 7. The line's 3.5. The line is half that. That would be doubling the spread right there. So no, that would be great. Kevin says, I just wish Nico would get as excited for his offense as he does his defense. This would not stand for defense playing like this offense. See, I think he's excited no matter what, but I think he's a defensive guy. And I think naturally when you're a defensive guy, it's kind of like a divide in the locker room. Not an unhealthy divide, but there's like kind of like a, we got to handle our business on defense and the offense has got to handle their business. You've all seen it. And that's why he's willing to call out his defense after last week when it was clearly the offense. So I don't know if like the emotions or anything. I think he's happy for all of his players. And I don't feel like the emotions are unproportional. I will say though, like naturally, like if you're holding the sheet and you're calling the play and then it plays out in front of your very eyes. And my God, he can call some defense, man. He can get the most of his defense. There is no one in the world will question D'Amico with the defense. But naturally, when you're doing that and you're kind of a defensive guy, you're going to get excited. I think where the concern comes is you've never had to worry about the offense. You've been a linebacker your entire career. You've been a defensive coordinator. You've been a defensive coach. And now you're having to kind of look at that. But I do 100% agree with you. And I've said this. If the offense were coached like the defense, like if there was the coaching equivalent of D'Amico, you'd be fine. The division would already be wrapped up. Hell, we might be talking about, damn, if Kansas City would have lost, maybe they could get the 1 seed. If you had the coaching equivalent on offense to what D'Amico does on defense, and you could just balance that out, if you could clone that. But I absolutely agree with you. Like if the equivalent of this was going on defense, this would not fly. It wouldn't happen though, because D'Amico is such a good defensive coach. I agree with that. Mike has a theory. I think it's part of Bobby's plan to look like they don't know what they're doing in the regular season just so they dominate the playoffs. Big brain Bobby.
Damn it, Bobby.
Okay. How did Quintariano get injured again? No idea, but Andrew Beck is in the building. Andrew Beck is back. And quite frankly, he should play tight end a lot. I don't know that they're going to use him at fullback as much, but whatever Dalton Schultz is trying to do out there, blocking and stuff, just make him stop having to do that and let him go out and run routes. I'm not just saying that because I took the over in his receiving yards at BetUS, which you can do too. Promo code YouTube150. I don't know how Quintariano got hurt. He gets hurt a lot. But if Andrew Beck, make him block a little bit, the intermediate routes, all that type of stuff, he's basically a tight end now. Sure, he can line up and play some fullback. I don't think they're going to have a fullback as much as they did last year. But if they do, he can do it. And he might not be an elite blocker. He's better than Dalton Schultz. Probably foaming at the mouth now. Holy crap, I'm up early enough to catch the locker room stream. Damn, man. You on that graveyard, huh? Yeah, that's what happens when Georgia Tech go to like 8 overtimes. Francisco, my goodness. It's a long one. A play I think epitomizes the second half offensive play calling was last week in the third quarter following a big run to get into the red zone. Slow called that weird orbit return pre-snap motion. Remind me of which one you're talking about. Are you talking about the Dell one that went backwards? Is that what we're talking about? I feel like a lot of these coordinators like to run reverses like inside the 10-yard line. In college, it might work. In the NFL, it just doesn't seem like it works, does it? Andrew Beck, by the way, nobody's talking about. He's returning. I don't know if he's traveling with the team or not. I don't know if he's ready to go. He might be immediately ready with Quintariano. He knows the system. What if, remember when Beck returned the kick against the Jags? Last time the Texans were in Jacksonville, that was one of the flukier plays of the year. Jacksonville actually had momentum. And he bobbles the kickoff and then takes it to the house. It's 6:30. Where the hell are you at, Arthur? I've talked to you. You said 6:30 here. So I'm usually on at like 5:30. Where are you at? I know we got a lot of people around the globe, but where are you at? 6:30 here. Where the hell is it 6:30? Beck cannot run. He's faster than he looks, but let's not act like he can run. You just think he looks slow, and he's a little faster than he looks.
Race car!
Let's be serious. He's not going to be as close to kick return. That fluke play died with the new kickoff return. I will say, if Dare Ogunbowale is going to catch kicks like he did last week, then my God, put Jim Abbott back there to catch the rock. J-Rock's guessing Australia. London, okay. Look at you, man. My man is in London. How about that? Are bars open 24/7 in London? But my main residence is London. This just the weekend holiday. Damn. Look at you, man. Look at you. It's crazy what's happened in a short time. And I always try to react passionately, but like try to counter my inner thoughts because it can be dangerous. But I don't know how much overreacting is going on right now with the Texans with what they're putting out there. And that's the real problem I'm having right now. Like I want to be able to sit here and say, my goodness, like it's not as bad as it appears, but I mean, that second half stuff is crazy. It's absolutely insane what they got going on right now. Who knows? I'm going to wrap this up. I need some sleep. A little sleep in. Practice today. Really nothing to report. Will Anderson was out there. Looks like he's going to go. Doesn't seem like 100%, but he's battling. He needs the bye week, but he's good to go. No Foley Fatukasi. He's not going to play. He needs the bye week, man. My man's been battling for a long time there. And then we don't know what's going to happen with Xavier Hutchinson. Who knows? Christian Harris, don't know. Think he's getting closer. He's closer. I could see the ramp up starting in 2 weeks, like the ramp up, at least the attempt to see how it goes. I could see that starting. Him maybe running around a little bit. Educated guess. But yeah, he was effed up. I'm pretty sure it'll come out that he had surgery or something. They'll probably admit it. Wasn't just like a typical calf or there was some sort of rip or something like that. But hey, that's not breaking news. I'm just guessing. I don't know whether he's going to play or not. I would imagine though, like the attempt of ramp up is soon, and we'll see him running around with the cleats and whatnot. So we'll see. After the bye week, I think after the bye week is like a hopeful, but I don't care what anybody said. I told you I wasn't coming back week 4, and I told you it'd be closer to December than November. I'm not just making that up. Like it's pretty clear. Do I guarantee that he's going to come back? No, but it's going to be. I think the ramp up's there. There's clues. There's clues that they're ramping it up. As far as the other stuff that went on at practice today, there was really nothing. There was really nothing going in the locker room. It's kind of cleared out, which has been kind of a theme lately. D'Amico doesn't do Friday press conferences anymore. Kind of like I don't even know how to describe it. He goes out there and speaks a little bit. Talks about life and stuff. You'll think I'm probably making this up, dude. Getting serious. No press conference. Let's talk about life. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Again, the BetUS parlay, YouTube 150 if you want to use the code. 11-1 is crazy for that few of things to happen. If you're getting 11-1, I mean, good Lord. I mean, you might as well do it. Trevor Lawrence over 1.5 touchdowns. Jags over 19.5 points. Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz over receiving yards. If you're so inclined. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Info on cheering for Bobby catching the punt return. Okay. So they have like a Friday game thing. We're not allowed to film it, but it's not like some big ass secret. But they have like coaches or they have like staff, and they each represent a side, and they catch a punt off of the jugs machine. And Bobby, at the end, he was the final one. He put that ball cap on backwards, caught the punt. Everybody went crazy. They gathered around Bobby. He kind of threw the ball up, little celebration, and there was a lot of joy at practice today. That's what it was. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Subscribe, like, ride along. Enjoy the hell out of this weekend. We'll have the post-game show on Sunday. I don't like when things are this bad for this squad. I think it's in all of our interest for them to at least look like a competent second half offensive ball club. And in a perfect world, you should be already talking about them beating the Jags. It's not where we're at right now. Hopefully they get there. Hopefully we're talking about an 8-win squad heading into the bye week with the grasp of the division right in front of them. Who knows, though? No matter what happens, though, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Have a wonderful weekend. Man, what a long weekend this is. What a lovely weekend this is. What a lovely football weekend this is. We're all in it together. Talk to y'all Sunday after the game.
Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we